Hi everybody, it's December 23rd. Today and tomorrow, that's it. Then we're done with our one-a-day videos before Christmas. All right, what's in the secret British snack box? We have, tell the people, tell the good people.
We have a McVitie.
I don't know what's happening here.
Digestives seasonal edition. Gingerbread flavor.
Enzo's favorite, gingerbread. You like me to open that?
Yeah.
Sonny boy.
You switched it for the other.
I didn't switch anything. They were in the random order that they were in.
Definitely.
All right, so there you go. Now, somebody commented the other day that Americans always comment that the chocolate is on the bottom, whereas British people think of digestives as having the chocolate on the top. And I said that is because the top, or where the chocolate is flat, and there's a little bit of a curve to the other side where the chocolate isn't. But looking at it now, I'm not so sure that's true. It might be the same on both sides. I don't know why I just assumed it was the bottom. Probably because there's writing here on what I referred to as the top. You thought this was the top? Yeah. And that was the bottom? Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'm just the weirdo.
Because
anyway,
you put the bigger thing at the bottom.
Yeah, but it's not, that's what I'm saying. Doesn't it seem like it's bigger that way? At the bottom that way?
No, I mean like you usually put the more of the first material and it's bigger on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's just try them and see. All right. You like them? Even though it's gingerbread? Huh. I feel like the gingerbread flavor is very mild. It's not real potent or strong. The chocolate is tasty as always. I think these are really good. Should we put these out for Christmas too?
Man. We have like 25 things.
I know. We're having several Christmas celebrations, so we'll have enough to go around.
No.
All right.
We have too much.
All right, so this should be another easy one. Ho, 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 or no, no, no. It is a ho, ho, ho. What? Did you say oh?
Oh.
All right, stay tuned for our Christmas extra today, and we'll see you tomorrow for the last one. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Hey everybody, we're back in the kitchen today. Well, I'm back in the kitchen today. I don't know where Enzo is. He's being 13 somewhere getting ready for Christmas because tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Gotta let the dog out. So my dad's side of the family is Italian, and my grandmother was an amazing cook, and one of our most favorite Christmas traditions is to make her lasagna recipe, which is totally different than a normal lasagna, normal lasagna is usually just meat sauce and ricotta layered between lasagna noodles and then baked. This is totally different than that. This is a cold cut lasagna, so the lasagna is layered with a homemade sauce and 6 different kinds of cold cuts, as well as hundreds of little mini meatballs. So I'm gonna not make this too long. I'm just gonna show you real quick steps along the way, but I'm gonna start with the sauce, and I'm gonna get going on that now. We're making 2 pans of lasagna, so I gotta make 2 pots of sauce. I'm gonna make them one after the other. So we're gonna put some olive oil, just enough to like cover the bottom of the pan, basically. Some extra virgin olive oil. That looks good right there. So that's going to heat up for about a minute, and then once that's heated up, we'll start adding some of the ingredients. Whoa, got lights going in and out. All right, so the olive oil is heated up, so now I'm going to put some onion, and that onion there, 1 whole onion, sliced real thin, and 2 cloves of garlic, sliced pretty thin. I'm going to turn this temperature down so that things don't burn. I'm going to stir around the onions and the garlic. And the onion, we're just going to stir around the onions and the garlic until the onion becomes kind of translucent and starts to get a little bit soft, and then we'll move on. So the smell of onions and garlic in a pot with olive oil, just love that. It's heaven. All right, the onion and garlic are ready pretty much. They're nice and demogorgon. They're nice and soft, so now we're going to add in the carrots and celery. We've got 2/3 of a cup of each of those. Those go in. There's no sugar in this sauce. I don't know if my grandmother actually put the onion and celery in like this to add some sweetness, or if that's something that maybe somebody else in the family kind of added after my grandmother was not around anymore. What's going on here? Now we're going to add in a big can of tomatoes, a 6-pound can. Ooh. Stand back. You don't want to get splattered with tomato sauce. And then I'm also going to add in half of a 28-ounce can of tomatoes as well, just so that we make sure we have enough sauce for the lasagna. So once the tomatoes are in, I like to use a potato masher, or I don't know if that's what you call this. I think that's what you call this. And just kind of break down the tomatoes, like so. Now we are going to run all of this through a food mill later, so these don't have to be perfectly smushed in here because they're going to go through the food mill, and we'll get out all the big chunks of anything at that point after the sauce is cooked for a while. All right, next, of course, some fresh cracked pepper. Lots of that. And if you're running out like I am, you can cheat and just put in some already ground pepper, which is probably what I'm going to have to do because I don't think I have enough of this. And then we're going to put in some salt too. I'm not going to put in a ton because, again, this lasagna is made with a bunch of cold cuts that all have salt in them, so you don't really need a ton of salt, but you definitely want some because this, otherwise the sauce will be a little too acidic. So once the pot of sauce really starts to bubble, then I'm going to turn the heat down to low, and I'm going to cook it for 30 to 45 minutes uncovered because we don't want the sauce to be too watery right now. And later we're going to cook those little mini meatballs in the sauce for a while too, and we're going to cover it then because that way it'll help keep the meatballs from drying out. All right, so in the meatballs is ground beef, ground pork, some garlic, some parsley, 2 eggs, Romano cheese, and usually it's breadcrumbs, but since Amy is gluten-free and there are other people who might be having this who are gluten-free, what I use instead is ground up pork rinds, which actually is kind of nice because it's less dry than the breadcrumbs, and since these meatballs are going to be really small, they can dry out pretty easily, so this is a good substitute that also happens to make it gluten-free. Okay, so everything's in the bowl, and now I'm just going to mash it all up together so it makes a nice mixture that we're going to make the meatballs from. And I'm going to use gloves, not because I'm worried about anything sanitary, but because the meat is really cold, and it makes it feel less cold. All right, and so now we just take the meatballs and roll them up into little tiny, or take the meat mixture and roll them up into little tiny meatballs. My mom is helping. You want to say hi, Mom?
Hi, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. You help us almost every year, right? I mean, as long as we're in town, you've always helped with this.
Yep.
And so we're just going to roll these up, and we're going to fill 2 cookie sheets with these because that's how many go into each pan of lasagna. So it's quite a lot, but it actually goes pretty fast. I mean, it doesn't take us more than usually, about 15, 20 minutes to do all these. We make these about the size, somewhere, usually between, like my mom's making really, really tiny ones. I'm making some that are a little bit bigger. Usually between a dime and a nickel. Because if you make them, if you took a dime or a nickel and spun it, that's about how big it would be. Those are probably too small because they'll get dried out. So you don't have to remake them, just make the other ones. No, just make the next ones bigger.
Okay. Like
about this size. All right, so now that all of the meatballs are almost made, oh, your spacing's a little off there, Mom. Okay. But the meatballs are almost ready. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back over to the pot of sauce, and I'm gonna run the sauce through a food mill into another pot, and then we're gonna cook the meatballs in the pot of sauce after I brown them on the stove for a minute. All I'm gonna do is a few ladles at a time. I'm gonna take sauce out of the pot that it's been cooking in, and I'm just gonna fill up this food mill that's on top of this other pot, like so. And then I'm just gonna run it through the food mill. And after each batch of sauce goes through the food mill, you want to take a spatula and get all of the thicker elements off the bottom of the food mill, which there will be quite a few of, because the carrots and the onions and celery and all that kind of stuff have softened up. So you want to make sure, because some of the chunkier elements get caught in the food mill, so you got to kind of push them out so you can get them through the mill. But then on the bottom, you've got all this thicker stuff, which is really, really flavorful. So you want to make sure you take the spatula and get all that stuff off of the food mill and put it back in the pot so that you're not missing out on all that flavor in the sauce. All right, so now that the meatballs are all done, the sauce has been put through the food mill. So now I'm just sauteing the meatballs in a pan really quick, just for a few minutes, just to brown them a little bit so that they don't fall apart when they get put back in the pot with the rest of the sauce, which they're gonna go into right there. While the sauce is cooking again with the meatballs in it, we're gonna boil the pasta. We're not gonna boil it the same amount of time you would boil pasta normally. We're just gonna do it for 4 minutes. And I always use DiCecco lasagna because they're shorter and so they fit in a lasagna pan better. So I'm just gonna boil these for 4 minutes and then I'm gonna lay them on sheets of wax paper or cooking parchment or something after running cold water over them to try to get them to not stick together. And then after the sauce is done, we'll start assembling our first pan of lasagna. So now we're gonna start assembling the lasagna. So we're gonna put a little bit of sauce in the bottom of the pan. We're gonna put in some lasagna noodles. And then layer by layer, we're gonna put on ham, Swiss cheese, mortadella, some mild soppressata, mozzarella, and the king of all meats, prosciutto di Parma. So that we're gonna do 3 levels of all of that stuff. And then on the top, we'll put some, a big layer of meatballs on the top of the lasagna once everything's assembled. All right, so now as you can see, the pan of lasagna is done. We put most of the meatballs on the top right there, which is a big treat because then when you go to slice it up, you've got this nice layer of meatballs on the top. So now it's gonna go into the oven for a while. You always wanna make this a day before you're gonna eat it, at least, because it gives all the flavors a chance to set and everything after it bakes. Plus, if you try to eat it right after it's baked, it kind of slides apart. So it's much better to eat at least the second day. So, so this is gonna go in the oven for about half an hour now. Here it is, the finished product. Ooh, doesn't that look amazing? Well, you can't really tell because you're only seeing the top, but trust me, it's amazing. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you for our last one of these tomorrow.